At nearly 1,400 feet above Manhattan, 96 stories above the concrete, a cup of coffee resting on an Italian marble countertop begins to ripple without a hand touching it. The building around it is groaning, emitting a hollow sound that echoes through empty $70 million apartments like a subterranean gale. This is 432 Park Avenue, a structure conceived as the pinnacle of global luxury real estate, now serving as an unintended laboratory for extreme physics. When architect Raphael Vignoli envisioned the tower, he stripped away all ornamentation in pursuit of mathematical purity, designing a perfect geometric square that measured 85 feet on each side. Built on an unprecedented slender ratio of 15:1, the building belonged to a new breed of NYC pencil towers, designed to squeeze maximum financial value out of a minuscule footprint. It was an audacious monument to architectural vanity, intended to prove that reinforced concrete could reach unprecedented heights. In the early 2000s, the Manhattan luxury real estate market transformed as global capital sought refuge in vertical asset vaults. Developers realized that wealthy buyers were paying not just for square footage, but for extreme elevation and unobstructed light. By assembling air rights from neighboring lots, developers could bypass traditional zoning height limits, turning the super tall era into a speculative arms race where height directly translated into unprecedented capital yields. Yet behind the minimalist facade lay a fundamental conflict between aesthetic minimalism and the raw forces of fluid dynamics. As wind moves across a flat-sided square tower at high speeds, it creates vortex shedding, where alternating low-pressure swirls form on downwind sides, pushing the structure sideways. Traditional skyscrapers offset this through tapered tops or rounded corners, but a pure geometric grid offers no natural relief against these relentless lateral loads. To prevent the building from swaying beyond human tolerance, the design team left double-height open floors every 12 stories, allowing wind to blow directly through the structure without pushing against glass panels. These mechanical voids reduced wind resistance, acting as pressure relief valves high above the city streets. However, this engineering compromise created a secondary crisis, altering how air, pressure, and noise behaved inside the residential spaces above and below those open belts. Residents who paid dozens of millions of dollars soon discovered that living in a super-tall pencil tower offered a very different reality than sold in glossy marketing brochures. High-velocity winds rushing through the open mechanical floors created creaking sounds, loud pops, and whistling noises that echoed through drywall and elevator shafts. On stormy days, the upper floors swayed several feet, causing sway-induced motion sickness and sending chandelier fixtures swinging in million-dollar living rooms. The structural movement had an immediate impact on the complex mechanical systems running through the spine of the tower. Elevator cables hanging thousands of feet inside narrow concrete shafts began to sway violently back and forth, slapping against internal walls and triggering automatic safety sensors. During peak wind events, the high-speed elevators slowed to a crawl or shut down entirely, leaving residents trapped on lower floors or stranded nearly 1,000 feet in the air. Mechanical challenges escalated when internal plumbing systems began failing under extreme hydrostatic pressure and building deflection. Because the tower sways and shifts during high wind conditions, the rigid piping network experienced unprecedented physical strain, leading to severe joint ruptures. In late 2018, a series of catastrophic water leaks flooded multiple upper floors, sending thousands of gallons of water cascading down through electrical conduits and destroying multi-million-dollar interior finishes. By 2021, the building's condo board filed a detailed lawsuit claiming over $125 million in damages for structural and mechanical engineering failures. Forensic engineering reports commissioned by the residents revealed that the building suffered from nearly 1,500 individual construction anomalies, ranging from faulty electrical systems to inadequate soundproofing. The legal filings exposed a sharp division between high-profile buyers seeking quiet luxury and developers defending their engineering decisions. To construct a building so tall and impossibly thin, engineers relied on ultra-high-strength concrete, pushing modern material science to its absolute threshold. While the material offers immense compressive strength to support 85,000 tons of weight, concrete remains susceptible to long-term creep and shrinkage over decades. As the dense concrete core settles unevenly under dynamic sway conditions, subtle structural movements distort door frames, crack ceiling plaster, and compromise air seals throughout the upper residences. Sound insulation, a basic expectation for premier luxury properties, became another victim of structural flexibility. The high-pressure differential between the exterior air and the pressurized internal core forced wind through door gaskets and window frames, creating eerie, continuous whistling sounds inside high-floor homes. Despite expensive sound-dampening attempts, residents reported feeling as though they were living inside a giant wind instrument during winter blizzards. At the very top of the building, hidden inside the upper mechanical crown, sits a tuned mass damper, a massive suspended weight designed to sway in opposition to wind forces. While tuned mass dampers are standard in modern super-tall skyscrapers, balancing a damper in an ultra-slender square frame presents extreme mathematical challenges. Engineering studies indicate that while the heavy damper counteracts large structural sway, it cannot eliminate the rapid, subtle micro-oscillations that disturb human inner ears. Skyscraper engineering has always been an ongoing battle against environmental forces, but historical designs prioritized mass, taper, and aerodynamic curves. Iconic structures like the Empire State Building or the Chrysler Building relied on massive steel frames and heavy stone masonry to absorb vibrations. The modern transition to light glass curtains and rigid concrete cores trades spatial mass for floor plate efficiency, leaving slender towers far more sensitive to dynamic wind loads. The underlying driver behind the pencil tower phenomenon was not architectural necessity, but raw urban economics. Midtown Manhattan land values soared to unprecedented heights, making traditional wide-footprint developments financially unviable. Developers quickly recognized that buying air rights and stacking residences vertically offered astronomical profit margins, creating a speculative environment where extreme height was prioritized long before long-term structural physics were fully understood in residential applications. Starchitects like Raphael Vignoli were hired precisely for their bold artistic signatures, creating striking silhouettes that defined city skylines and commanded massive price premiums. Vignoli famously stated that his grid design was inspired by a simple trash can designed by Joseph Hoffman, aiming for unyielding geometric purity. Yet critics argue that prioritizing minimalist artistic vision over functional residential comforts exposed the hidden cost of putting aesthetic theory ahead of real-world habitability. Before ground was broken on 432 Park Avenue, scale models underwent extensive wind tunnel testing to predict structural behavior. However, physical wind tunnel models and computer simulations often struggle to accurately capture how microclimates, vortex shedding, and complex urban wind funnels interact with full-scale living spaces over extended timeframes. The disparity between controlled laboratory simulations and real-world atmospheric turbulence became painfully clear once the tower was fully built and occupied. Thermal expansion adds another layer of stress to the building envelope. As solar radiation strikes one side of the vast, exposed concrete facade, while the opposite side remains in freezing shadows, differential thermal expansion causes the tower to bow imperceptibly throughout the day. This constant expansion and contraction places immense thermal stress on double-paned window seals and joint caulking, leading to premature air leaks and structural popping sounds. To the public watching from Central Park below, 432 Park Avenue became an unmistakable symbol of ultra-wealth and architectural hubris. Casting long shadows across historic neighborhoods, the tower stood as a stark reminder of how super-tall architecture can dramatically reshape public urban space for the exclusive benefit of a few dozen offshore investors. The visible swaying and publicized structural flaws quickly turned a prized status symbol into a subject of citywide irony. In response to the well-documented engineering failures of the super-tall era, New York City urban planners and municipal authorities began reassessing zoning codes. Regulations regarding mechanical voids were revised to prevent developers from using hollow, artificially inflated floors simply to boost residential height and price tags. The public scrutiny surrounding 432 Park Avenue helped accelerate tighter oversight on how high-density, ultra-slender towers are approved and engineered. The commercial impact on the luxury tower was swift and severe as news of construction defects leaked to the public. Units that once fetched record-breaking square-foot prices lingered on the market for years, facing steep price cuts and skepticism from prospective buyers. Insurance costs for the building skyrocketed, while monthly common charges jumped exponentially to cover ongoing mechanical repairs, legal disputes, and emergency structural engineering audits. Comparing 432 Park Avenue to other contemporary super-talls highlights key architectural divergence. Competitors like Steinway Tower at 111 West 57th Street utilized pronounced setbacks and heavy steel concrete hybrid composites to disrupt wind patterns and increase structural damping. In contrast, 432 Park's unyielding square profile offered zero aerodynamic relief, proving that ignoring natural fluid resistance in pursuit of pure geometric form carries predictable physical penalties. Fixing a multi-hundred-million-dollar structural issue thousands of feet in the air is an engineering nightmare of unprecedented proportions. Remediation efforts require retrofitting internal mechanical systems, installing complex secondary sound dampening insulation inside walls, and recalibrating elevator guidance rails under active sway conditions. These continuous retrofits mean that residents live in a permanent state of maintenance, with teams of specialized engineers continually working to stabilize the building's infrastructure. Beyond the financial loss and technical inconvenience lies a profound psychological impact on those living inside. The constant micro-movements, unpredictable groaning sounds, and lingering fear of elevator failures transform what was sold as a sanctuary into an environment of perpetual low-level anxiety. When a home sways underfoot during a winter storm, no amount of luxury stone or panoramic views can restore the basic human need for structural stability. For the global structural engineering community, 432 Park Avenue serves as an invaluable, if costly, case study in super-tall limits. It forced structural engineers to recognize that tall building design cannot focus solely on preventing structural collapse. Dynamic human comfort, mechanical durability, and long-term material behavior must hold equal weight. The building proved that surviving extreme environmental forces on paper is vastly different from providing a quiet, functioning home in practice. As the super-tall era continues to evolve across global capitals, the era of unyielding geometric pencil towers appears to be drawing to a close. Future developments are increasingly embracing organic shapes, sloped stepbacks, and integrated wind turbines that work with atmospheric physics, rather than attempting to brute force them. 432 Park Avenue stands as a monument to a specific moment in real estate history when capital and ambition outpaced physical reality. Looking up at the Manhattan skyline on a clear day, 432 Park Avenue still appears as a mesmerizing, impossibly thin white grid piercing the clouds. Yet behind that flawless square facade lies a quiet warning about the limits of human ambition and architectural vanity. When a building is built too high, too thin, and too rigid, the laws of physics will always have the final say, reminding us that true architectural greatness requires harmony with nature, not merely defiance.